Hi there, I'm Joe and I'm here to tell you about my study of Crosby Garrett, which is a village, a hamlet really, and parish in the county of Cumbria in the northwest of England. And it's in what formerly was the county of Westmoreland, which sort of people may know from Appleby in Westmoreland, Kendal, two of the biggest towns, and the other big town, or biggish town, Kirkby Stephen, which is in the Upper Eden Valley. And that's where Crosby Garrett is. So Crosby is important to me because I've lived here for the last 3 years. And for me, someone who works as an academic historian as well as a freelance family historian, I end up doing a lot of research, you know, for other people or under certain time constraints or to certain sort of standards and expectations that are outside of my control, and why I really enjoy this, and of course it helps me make ends meet. I really enjoy my study of Crosby Garrett as a local history that is purely for myself. And while I've no doubt I'll end up, you know, giving talks, and I do hope to publish things at some point, really the work that I do on Crosby is just for me. I started the study mostly by collecting things, so books for example. So you've got here the Cumbria Historical Gazetteer, edited by Angus Winchester, and that's got an entry for Crosby Garrett. Cumbria, of course, not yet properly covered by the Victoria County Histories, so this is a good stopgap for anyone working on Cumbria that needs something, an overview of any particular place. I also joined the Cumberland Westmoreland Antiquarian and Archaeological Society, and they have a transactions and regular newsletters as well, and a series of talks. That's been really enjoyable. I've also been collecting books, so for example Life on an Eden Valley Farm, so some testimonies from older people from the last century, so that's also good context for what I'm doing. And of course, as well as general books on Cumbria and Westmoreland, there is a antiquarian style history. This is a reprint. I'm not lucky enough to own an original yet. It's Crosby Garrett, Westmoreland, a history of the manor of Crosby Garrett in Westmoreland with local customs and legends. And this is about 100 years old, and by a guy called Josiah Walker Nicholson. So I've collected all this information, mostly from secondary sources so far. We've got maps, for example, the map behind me, as well as things like postcards. So, for example, postcard there of Crosby Garrett. Lovely. So, on top of that, I've been working on population studies at the moment, looking at things like the hearth tax and protestation returns, trying to calculate estimates of population from pre-census records like those, as well as looking at the census itself. I've been involved in a project to memorialise some railway workers and their families who died during construction of the Settle Carlisle Railway, which runs through Crosby Garrett. Used to be a station until the 1950s, it's now closed down, but the trains still run through. A lot of the navvies and their families lived in shanty huts nearby during the construction of the railway in the mid-19th century, but many of them I've known from my own research actually lived with families in the village as well. So they were buried in an unmarked grave, those who died of disease and accidents and things like that. So I've been involved in the research behind a memorial that's now up for them. In addition, I've been working with some locals to hopefully get together a sort of oral history show and tell kind of session, which will be really good to see what people have got hiding in their lofts and in unused drawers. So yeah, I really love my study of Crosby Garrett, mostly because I can do it anything under my own steam. I can take it whatever direction I want. And really it's just a fascinating study of an area of the country that I think is understudied. Rural Westmoreland in particular being historically one of the smallest counties in England, very underpopulated, doesn't have as much history written about it generally, and there really aren't these kind of studies of local parishes, not to the same level that they may be found elsewhere in England or in Britain. So a really important thing to do, I hope, and hopefully, like I say, while I'm doing things for my own pleasure, there might be some publications or talks and things that come out of this in the end. So that's my study of Crosby Garrett, and that's why it's important to me. Thanks very much for listening.